from Modern Mysticism, and we are going to talk today about all things tarot. So I have been an avid tarot user for probably about 5 years, but also come from a generational line of tarot, which we'll talk about a little bit during this conversation. My grandma, who will be 90 this year, has read tarot cards for 70 years, and she has such a special place in my heart and has really taught me a lot that I know. Danielle, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. So I am the other Danielle on this call today, and I am Danielle from Modern Mysticism, which, if you're not familiar, Modern Mysticism is a Substack that covers all things tarot, astrology, and spirituality. And so my tarot background is a little bit different. I did not have a relative or anyone from, any mentor or anything like that. I sort of stumbled into tarot and have been doing it since I was about 13.
13. So it came about it like as an adolescent, huh?
Yeah, exactly when you want to stumble upon these types of tools, right? Both good and bad.
Do you feel like it helped you navigate through your adolescence?
I mean, yes and no. I didn't use tarot then the way I use tarot now. So I would argue sometimes it would fuel anxiety more than it would resolve it. But I think that's the thing about tarot and astrology and all those other things. They're tools, and how you use them is more important sometimes than why you're using them.
Yeah. I had a large aversion to tarot for most of my life, I think due to just religious upbringing of my own accord. My family wasn't religious, but I took myself to church, a little church down the block, kind of my whole childhood, and into adulthood really felt like tarot was from the devil. And I can look back now and kind of chuckle, but it felt really real to me back then. And my grandma never forced anything upon me, but I did watch her growing up. She always provided my mother and my family members with yearly readings, or if something was going down in life, we'd call grandma, get some of her wisdom. And she would always, she never really provide us with answers. And she'll just tell you, I am not a fortune teller. That is not what this is about. This is a tool to help you see the bigger picture, a tool for some insight, a tool to look deeper inside of yourself, because she's the first one who taught me that everything that you need, we already have inside of ourselves. Like, we are our own oracles, but these are tools, right? So in the middle of a midlife crisis, I called her and I said, I think I need a tarot reading. And she paused for a long time. And she said, if you're asking me for a tarot reading, shit's gone bad. Like, something's wrong. And she didn't ask any questions, though. She did a reading. She called me back the next day, and she had pulled my cards. And she said, for the first time in her tarot journey, didn't think they were accurate. So she put them all back in, she reshuffled, and she redealt and got the exact same spread, which to this day, she'll tell you, has never happened to her. I think that's a rarity. She was able to read what was going on in my life without me telling her anything. So that was somewhat of a blessing to me, because when you're going through a hard time, to verbalize it all to someone you love is hard. So she basically told me what was going on and gave me the first insight to tarot and some guidance that I really needed. And that was when I stepped my foot in. Well, for the people who know me, my friends Sam and Marissa are on this call, I don't do anything halfway. Like, once I go into something like full Leo energy, I am like all the way, all the things, all the decks, all the learning, and I have just dove head first. But my tarot journey has changed over the years. It's evolved, I think, like yours has, and I'd love to hear your evolution. But the thing that has really resonated with me when I read your articles is tarot for you isn't a consumption, right? It isn't like a future telling, black and white. It's a insightful tool that you use to look deeper inside of yourself and into your psyche and into your world. And I would love it if you told me a little bit more about your evolution of tarot and how you use it today.
Sure. So first off, I don't want to start out by poo-pooing predictive tarot, or like, I do predictive astrology. I've done predictive tarot. Like, there's nothing wrong with prediction on the whole, right? But it harkens back to my 13-year-old self and going back to, why am I asking the question and what am I hoping to get out of this, right? So I think that my evolution, as you call it, has been really about learning more about how to use these tools for insight into, how am I showing up right now? How am I presenting to this situation? What can I learn from what's going on, as opposed to what's going to happen? Because when we ask the question, what's going to happen with my career? What's going on with money? Like, we're looking for a sense of control over the future, right? And that's okay. That's human. It's human to want to predict outcomes so that then we can control said outcomes. But what I'm finding more powerful, the more and more I sort of go on this journey, is, what do I need to know about me right now? How can I delve more into how I'm showing up? What energy can I embody so that I can become the version of me that has the outcome that I want? And the more I do it, the more I realize that it's helping me evolve and embody into the version of myself that I want to be. And it's giving me more of that sense of control, primarily because I can't control outcomes, but I can control who I am and how I show up to things. Going back to like your comment about religion, which I think a lot of us might have experienced. I did not grow up in a super religious household. However, my first tarot deck came to me when I was shopping, back to school shopping with my mom. And those little like end cap aisles, right?
Yeah.
And I was always the kid being found in like the witchy psychological section anyway, along with the science fiction section. But so we're at the end cap and we're going through to check out, and I see a mini tarot deck. You know how they have the little like beginner friendly whatever Rider Waite-Smith deck, and I grab it. I'm like, Mom, please, 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 please. And my mom looks at me and she goes, okay, but don't tell such and such uncle that I let you get this, because it's going to be a big deal. And I was like, okay, like, I don't care. Like, that's fine. So get the deck, play with the deck, right? And it's just funny that religion comes up occasionally, but to me, tarot's non-denominational. It's just a tool, and whoever you identify with, God, universe, higher self, etc. It's a tool to connect with that entity, right? Because you're looking for divine guidance. And again, intentionality is something that we could talk about all day when it comes to tarot. But how you are intentionally utilizing the deck, who you're looking to connect to, and whether or not you're coming to it from a fear-based mindset or from a curiosity-based mindset.
Mm-hmm. That's really interesting. I am currently living a really interesting dichotomy from my childhood, because my oldest son, he's going to college and he wants to go into youth pastoral services, and himself has become very religious. So he just roasts me about these tarot cards all the time. And I think back to my childhood and I see this like spiral, right? The situations that we have in life come back around so you can see them from a different lens. And I think that sometimes we live things that we put out. And I see this like super interesting spiral with tarot and with divination in my life right now, setting an example for my children, the same example my grandma set for me. And they are accepting it somewhat like I did when I was a kid. And so we're all on our own journey. And I just find that to be super interesting. But I say a lot of the same things to them as you just said to our listeners. This is just a tool to help you know yourself a little more, get some insight in life, because we all need a little hand every now and then in life. And tarot has really, really helped me, I think, dig deeper into who I am. A lot of things that I talk about my platform, you also said, just the be, do, have model, right? You have to embody the energy of who you want to become. in order to get to where you want to go, that highest version of yourself. And tarot has also helped me do that. Talk to me a little bit about, we talked before the live about your favorite deck, but I would love for everyone to hear what your favorite deck is and maybe how you use different decks in different ways.
Sure. So Rider-Waite-Smith, right? Like, it's the first deck I ever got my grubby little hands on. And I just really like the traditional imagery. I sort of like the story of it a little bit. It's interesting. It started up in the 19th century. The Golden Order of the Dawn, and you guys feel free to correct me if I said that wrong, but no, Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. There we go.
That was a mouthful.
Yeah, right. Like, they are partially, they're credited with utilizing the cards for mystical, intuitive purposes, right? Before then, tarot's origins come from like 14th century Italy, where it was a card game utilized by the wealthy and not necessarily used in predictive, as a predictive tool. But so the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, and it should be noted, Smith is a new addendum. She wasn't originally credited, right? She was the artist or the illustrator. So Smith was the woman that was involved in tarot. And I love the fact that they came together and they used symbology. Like, the Rider-Waite-Smith deck is ripe with symbolism and all sorts of, it relates to the 4 elements. There are potential links to the Kabbalah. Like, there's numerology, astrology. Like, you can find all the ologies in the tarot deck, especially in that one. And that it's not limited to that one. There was the Thoth deck that was also created around that time, etc. Google it, people. You'll learn. And so, anyway, why I really like that deck is because every time I look at a card, I pick up on something different, like something different calls to me about that card, right? And that's how I am able to provide more nuanced readings for myself and others, because it's not just card and then insert this definition here, right? Like, they have specific meanings for me.
What drew you to other different types of card decks? And do you use them for different types of reading or in different ways?
Yeah, so I use Oracle decks too. I use tarot decks. We just talked about my other favorite tarot deck, which is the Affirmators Tarot. And it should be noted, I get no bonuses for sharing this with you. I just really like this deck. I actually wrote an article about it, and essentially what I say in the article is this deck is like if Tina Fey were a tarot deck, because it's very saucy. Like, it's funny, it's insightful, and it's going to make you laugh, mainly at yourself. Mm-hmm. So I like this deck because it comes at tarot from a tongue-in-cheek way, and that's another thing that is sort of my favorite about tarot, is that it doesn't have to be all like oracle on high, like the tarot deck has spoken. Yeah. No, I like a deck that makes me laugh at myself. I like a deck that makes me think more deeply, and sometimes humor is a really disarming way to do that. So that's another reason why I like that deck.
How do you use astrology and tarot in tandem in readings? I know you had said before we started that you had a spread going with some astrology on it. I'm so super curious how you use those two things together.
So there's like a million ways that you can do both. I actually write a column for the Evolving Astrologer called Cards and Stars, or Stars and Cards, that talks specifically about how to use tarot and astrology. But so, like, how I'm using it today for the article that I am posting on Sunday is astrology has 12 houses, right? And in those 12 houses live a multitude of our life, right? So you have everything from your personal self to your subconscious, to your home, money, higher learning, career, etc. So 12 areas, right? So you take those 12 areas and you take the tarot deck and you shuffle, shuffle, shuffle. I did it for the month of August, and I pick a signifier card. You can either pick a card yourself, like that you want to represent you. So for instance, the Queen of Pentacles or the Page of Swords, etc., whatever card you identify with, or let the deck pick for you to show you what energy you're embodying for the month. And then you pull a card for all 12 houses to show you the themes that are coming up for you during the month. Now, you'll notice I'm not saying what's going to happen to you, because I don't believe the cards work that way. I'm saying themes. So, for example, my 6th house has the Knight of Wands. Funnily enough, I just started a new exercise routine. So, and the Knight of Wands, for those of us that don't know, is a knight on a horse, and he's running full gallop over the sands, and he's in full charge, right? So, and the 6th house is the house of health routines and work, and I am gung-ho in both right now. So it's showing that these are some themes, some energy I might embody this month. Not necessarily, what's going to happen, but like some themes that might come up, and it gets me thinking about, well, how am I showing up as the Knight of Wands? And it's counter. Am I taking on too much in this area? Am I going to burn out, or am I just enthusiastic?
I have done that method for a yearly reading, but super fascinated to do it monthly and really think about what comes out as kind of a guiding force to your actions, your beliefs, your thoughts for that month.
Check out the article on Sunday. It walks you through the whole process.
Very well timed, isn't it? I'm going to check it out. What about a daily card? Do you do a daily card?
No, I'm not doing them currently. I'd rather do a spread for the week or a spread for the month, mainly because I like seeing the themes that come up. Sometimes I feel like if I do a daily card, I get too caught up in like, sort of did this show up today? How did this show up today? And, I'm a mom to a toddler. My time is limited. So yeah, for sure. I'm doing weekly and monthly right now.
If someone were just beginning with tarot, what would be your advice to them on how to learn? I think sometimes that's pretty overwhelming to people with the amount of cards and the symbolism that it kind of turns them away from learning.
So there's some great resources out there. When I was first learning, I don't know if you've heard of Biddy Tarot, but they have their website is sort of unending in the resources and information. I actually have her book, and it's very, very helpful because it does a deep dive on every card. I'm also a low-hanging fruit sort of person, so I start real slow. I started with the major arcana, right? And let it tell me a story. I also, while I used the book to give me like the meanings, I don't believe in rote learning. I believe each card has specific meaning for different people, and different readers are going to read them differently. Different situations are going to pop up and you're going to read them differently. So I think authentic learning of tarot is very important for you to ascribe meaning to the card, as well as to know what the meaning in the book is, right?
I was giving a card to 2 friends on the last full moon, and they each got 2 of the same card, but my interpretation of those cards was very different for each person. And so they did have questions about that. And I think it was helpful because I know what's kind of going on in their life. They're close to me, but you're right. The symbolism in the meaning of cards can be interpreted differently for different people in different situations. And I think when you go straight to the book all the time, that does kind of take away of some of like the individual magic of a reading.
Because it's a tool to tap into your intuition, right? So part of it is listening to what your intuition is telling you and not necessarily what the book is telling you.
Yeah.
The other thing, so after learning the major, for the minor arcana, I would focus on the four elements, right? Because the minor arcana is divvied up into four suits, but those four suits correspond with the four different elements. So wands are fire, cups are water, swords are air, and then pentacles are earth. So if you know that, it really helps to flavor the meaning of the cards, and it can be a lot easier to learn.
Really interesting. I think one thing I really wanted to focus on today was just that using a reading in a way that helps you reflect. And so changing your questions from yes or no, will this happen, won't this happen, to more quality questions. And so you talked a little bit about how that came about for you. And could you delve into that just a little bit deeper and help whoever's listening start to formulate questions that provide more reflection than just a simple like prediction question?
Yeah. So again, no shade to prediction, right?
Yeah.
Like there's nothing wrong with it, has its place. The problem or the issue is when you start seeking prediction as your way of seeking certainty. And it doesn't work that way when we're trying to control an outcome. And so we ask every single day, what, is my career going to work out today? Like, am I going to come into money this week? Is my romantic partner coming back to me? Like the types of things, we're not asking those questions from a place of curiosity. We're asking them from a place of fear. So asking questions that are open-ended as opposed to yes and no, right? So when you start a question with what or how, it's more likely to be an open-ended question than, why or, things where the answer is obviously yes or no to this thing. It's more likely to be a reflective question if you're asking it and the answer is open-ended, and then you can use that interpretation. So for example, when, right? When will I get a new job? Right? That's you're asking a question that's very directed. And also it's a timing question, which you can use tarot for timing, but you got to be pretty dialed into your intuition for it to be, in my opinion, for it to be accurate, right? Mm-hmm. And especially if you're coming from a place of like fear and you get a card that reads as delay, boy, oh boy, will that spike your anxiety, right? So a better question is to ask like, how can I reduce my anxiety about my career? How can I show up today as the best version of myself so that I can manifest what, my dream career, the money that I want, insert life thing here. But yeah, how and what, right? So open-ended questions.
Do you have a journaling practice that goes along with these readings? Because I feel like asking those quality questions then needs to lead to some sort of reflection to have maybe an action item on the end of that.
I do a weekly card pull for myself in a journal. Show me the energy, the theme of the week, show me how I'm showing up this week, and then a advice card, right? So what is Spirit's advice to me this week? Because what I used to do is I used to say, like, show me what's going to happen this week and show me the start, middle, end of the week. And then I'd go back and I'd analyze and see if those things lined up with the cards that pulled, and like it just spiked my anxiety.
Yeah.
Doing it this way, I'm like, oh, I have control over this, right? It says, I pulled the 9 of Swords for embodiment, and that means that usually indicates some sort of anxiety, right? And so I can be like, okay, maybe I'm feeling anxious about ABC this week, but I can decide if I'm going to spiral into that or if I'm going to take a deep breath and sort of, sit with the anxiety.
Mm-hmm. That makes a lot of sense. When you do readings for other people and they want an outcome-based question or an outcome-based reading, do you steer it the way you've been telling us that you read for yourself?
Yeah, I've started to. Now, does that mean that I won't ask the question? Absolutely not. But I might suggest a follow-up question, right? Because if you're paying me for my time, I want to give you what you want. But
Yeah.
I want to make sure that we're hitting what you really want and not just what you say you want, right? Because again, when we're asking for a certain outcome, it's because we're afraid, right? We're trying to grasp hold of any sense of control that we can get on the future. And sometimes if we ask questions that are more reflective, we can feel more grounded. We might not like the answers, but at least we can see like, oh, okay, I'm showing up to this with all kinds of anxiety, or Four of Pentacles, I'm grasping really tightly right now, and maybe I need to just take a breath.
There is something about accepting the answers that you get, because do you see people just wanting to continue to draw more cards and draw more cards, or draw different ones because they don't accept the reading that they got?
Well, yeah, because again, we're trying to secure an outcome, right?
Yeah.
Like we're not in this example, and not in every tarot example, but in this particular example where you keep drawing a new card, it's not because you don't believe the answer, it's because you don't like the answer.
You don't like it. Yep. I think that is just a human behavior. I've done that myself, where I don't say I don't like this. I'm like, I need clarification. Give me a clarifying card to this. And then another clarifying card, another clarifying card. And then you get to the end and you're like, okay, well, this was me trying to manipulate a reading, which isn't the reason you ever step into a tarot reading in the first place. And so there is something interesting, but also something so magical about trusting yourself, your knowing, like your inner guidance and your higher self that you're communicating with and through these cards, that you are learning what you need to know. And everything that you learn, every card that you draw, is always for your highest good. It's to help you get to your highest good. I truly believe that. Do you?
Yeah, so I think I'm going to bring it right back to what I said in the beginning. Intentionality is everything. Why you're coming to the deck and what you're bringing with you when you read the cards, right? If it's your intention to pull cards for your highest and greatest good, and I always, before I even touch the deck, take a quick breath, feet on the floor, and I ask, hey, Spirit, hey, universe, hey, whoever, God, whoever it is you identify with, right? Please allow this reading to be for my highest and greatest good, and connect me with what I most need to hear in the way I most need to hear it. Because sometimes we need a gentle push, and sometimes we need a kick in the pants.
That makes so much sense. And I'm probably going to start mirroring that from you, because it is true. There are times where I feel more fragile and I come to the cards looking for some support, but I'm going to get what I need to hear. And then there are times where I do need a kick in the pants, get going. Like, I find that most of my readings reiterate what I already know. I just needed to hear it again. Mm-hmm. And they say that humans need to hear things up to 7 times before it's like sinks in. And so it has been a good, like, affirming practice for me. Like, nothing was mind blowing or new, but I heard it again, and I know what I need to do. I just need to do it.
That's because in my mind, the cards are a lot like a Rorschach test, where you're the one ascribing the meaning to them. Yeah. Now, obviously, tarot cards have pre-prescribed meanings, but if you're reading intuitively, you're the one that's sort of picking up on the different things, and all it's doing is you're reading your own subconscious.
Yeah, just affirming what I needed affirmed. Yeah. So fascinating. Okay, so we talked a little bit about how to learn tarot if you're new, but if someone picks out their first tarot deck, do you have any advice for how to choose one? And what would you do the first time you use it?
Yeah. So I'm a big fan of listening to your intuition. If a deck's calling to you, it's usually calling to you for a reason, right? I would say that if you're the kind of person who is very black and white in how they think and how they learn, Rider-Waite-Smith is probably a great starter deck for you, because some of the more artistic decks can be a little less beginner friendly, right? So not every deck is going to provide you, and there is some value in actually knowing some of the meanings and all of that. Again, I would not say that you need to know them perfectly. I think reading intuitively is really important. But if you're the type of person who learns better with a specific criterion and outline, Rider-Waite-Smith is probably where I'd start. Now, if you're a creative, maybe you start with a super artsy deck and that's how you learn how to read. That's also entirely valid. The practice that I would recommend, so I don't do this right now because, again, it spikes my anxiety to do it, but a daily card pull is a really good way to get familiar with the cards. But the question I would ask is, what does Spirit want me to know today? What advice does Spirit have for me today? How should I show up today? Those types of questions is probably where I'd start, so that every day you get a little more familiar with the deck. Mm-hmm. You could also, one of the ways that I learned was I separated, when I first bought the deck, separated out all the major and all the minor arcana. And for the first month, I only used the major arcana cards. Mm-hmm. It's a lot easier to learn the first set than trying to learn all 78, at a time. So I started just pulling major arcana cards and flipping through the deck and looking at all the cards, learning the meanings. And then I put the major arcana aside and used the minor arcana for a month. Mm-hmm. And this was all before I blended them together. Now, do they have to do it that way? No, but it did help me learn the cards better.
My grandma had suggested a one card a day practice when I was learning. And I do think that really helped me get familiar with my favorite deck, the deck that I use all the time. I chose The Great Unknown by Chris Crayons. That was my first deck. And I love that deck. But as I've come to use it over and over again, it is cuts like a knife. It tells you exactly what you want to, exactly what you need to know. And there's no fluff to it. So when I need a kick in the pants, I use that deck. But I have come to have different decks for different meanings or for different feelings over time.
Well, oracle cards are great for that too.
Yeah, right? I was going to ask. I was like, how do you incorporate oracle cards with your tarot readings? Do you use them together, separate, both?
I use both. I usually use tarot as the bones of my reading, because I'm just very, very fluent in tarot. And then I use oracle as my advice card, or my overall card to bring everything together. So it's usually either the first or the last card I draw, and it's meant as a sort of overarching unifier between the theme. Give me one card that's thematic among all these tarot cards, or what is the overarching theme that I need to be aware of, right? And so that's what I use oracle for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, me too. They have different feels to me, but I do use them quite a bit as the overall energy of the spread, or a clarifying card, or a takeaway at the end. I feel like a lot of oracle cards have good takeaways that are pretty actionable.
Well, if I was going to do a one card a day, it'd be an oracle card.
Oracle card, yeah. Yeah, I can see that for sure. Well, what else about tarot would you like people to know? Anything that we haven't covered?
So one thing that we didn't hit on is so the article that I wrote is the reason why you reached out to me, right? The 6 ways I use tarot that aren't for prediction. And one thing that we haven't talked about is how tarot is a fantastic manifestation aid.
Oh, please tell me more. Tell me all the things. I loved that article so much that I read it, I shared it, and that is why I reached out. It opened up my consciousness a little bit about using tarot in different ways. And you're right, it's more than just quality questions and more than just prediction. And so please expand on all of that.
Yeah, so like the article said 6 ways. Let's just talk about manifestation, right? Like just that one for right now. It's on my mind because I'm writing the follow-up article.
Oh, can't wait.
Yeah, but so one thing that I think I've reiterated throughout this discussion is that tarot is a fantastic illustrative tool, right? Like there's a lot of symbology, and when you're doing manifestation, like vision boards or visualization or any of that, symbols are very helpful, right? Images matter. And for someone like me, who is fairly well versed in the tarot, uses them all the time, like those cards have meanings to me. They have personal meanings and they have the meanings in the book. And whenever I'm trying to bring about something, some of the rules of manifestation are, if you want something to come about, you have to be that thing already, right? Like you have to put out the vibration of, so if you want wealth, you need to vibrate wealth, right? Like you need to feel wealthy. And for me, the fastest way to get in alignment with that energy is to pull a card that I think symbolizes that, right? So for example, I've written about this a lot, but she's staring at me right now. The Queen of Wands is on my desk.
Sits on your desk, right?
And when I was first starting my Substack, I'm like, okay, who do I need to be in order for this thing to, sort of take off the way I want it to? And the Queen of Wands popped in my head because she leads with energy. She leads with magic. She leads with growth and, she's not afraid to put herself out there. The Queen of Wands does not care if you think she's weird. Mm-hmm. She is not afraid to be too much, which I think is a whole other conversation that we could have about women and us dimming our light, right? So that other people can shine. I'm a Virgo sun. I am very much so service oriented. I like to be the power behind the throne, not the person sitting in it. So for me, she represented sitting in my throne and owning my power. And that was very, very, very powerful. And that's why she sits there. And that's why I look at her, because when I was trying to manifest this creative opportunity, I needed a visual reminder every day of how I need to show up in order for these opportunities to manifest.
I say that my soul card is the High Priestess, and she functions the same way for me. And I have her in my room as well in the Strength card. And to think that I have lived most of my life in very survival based masculine energy. And I've achieved a lot that way. But in my 40s now, I have reached a level of burnout that I didn't even know existed. And so that is no longer sustainable for me. So the same when I thought, how do I get to a place where I share my gifts? I have impact in the world. I'm doing what I love and I'm compensated greatly for it. But it doesn't come at the expense of my body and my life. She was the one who stood out to me. She sits in her intuition and she knows exactly what she wants and what to do. And she doesn't waver. And I use her symbolism to refer back to my highest self. And some of that goes into archetype work. And I feel like, embodying certain archetypes of who you need to be to go where you need to go. And they're really great reminders.
Yeah. Well, and it doesn't just have to be the images of people either, right? Like the Ace of Pentacles, when you're trying to bring up new opportunities and be open to new money, new career, new whatever coming through your door, is a great one. Like there's so many ways that you can use the tarot to sort of ground your manifestations, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Throw them on a vision board, put it on your desk, put it on your fridge, put it on your bathroom mirror, and literally through the constant like seeing it, it's stimulating something in your brain that is then allowing you to connect with that energy more often. The more often you connect with that energy, the more likely you are to attract it to you.
Yeah, you're rewiring your neural patterns to think and be who you want to be and go where you need to go.
Yeah.
Really simple ways.
Yeah, it's like low effort, right? Like I said, I have
Really,
a
yeah.
toddler, so I need things that are efficient but fast.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. I'm going to link your article to the in the comments of this video because I want everyone to refer back to it. It was really profound for me. So I want to thank you so much for your work. You're making a huge difference in a lot of people's lives, opening up consciousness to think in different ways and think things that I hadn't thought before. And so thank you so much.
Ditto. The reason, so I don't agree to do stuff like this unless I genuinely connect with the other person and what they're doing, right? I'm very particular about curating a certain space and certain energetic connections. And so the first article I ever read of yours about EFT and like its power for linking yourself somatically, right? Like taking care of your physiological self so that you can ground in what you're trying to achieve mentally, just resonated with me instantly. I'm like, there's my people. I see my people. So ditto with heart.
Thank you. Thank you. Would you love to draw us one card from the deck that you recommended to me? Because I think everyone should at least hear one of her affirmations because they made me smile.
Okay. So, all right, peoples, this is the Affirmators Tarot deck. Again, I get nothing for showing you this deck. All right. Spirit, what do we most need to know right now? May you align us with what we most need to hear, the way we most need to hear it. Okay. I pulled the Ace of Swords, and typically, if this were a reading, I would give you my interpretation, but I genuinely love how she wrote this deck. So I'm going to give you her interpretation just because it's going to be funnier than anything I would say. But so it's really funny that the Ace of Swords is very much so all about ideas and charging forth, right? And sort of carrying the torch, right? So it's a hand in the Rider-Waite-Smith deck. It's a hand holding a sword and it's charging through. And this conversation, I think, has been very much so about ideas that cut through the noise, right? Cut through some of the baloney, cut through some of our anxieties, our fears, and really let us find the truth within ourselves. Okay, now I'll read her words. Like a lance of lucidity, the Ace of Swords signifies a powerful new beginning and an elevated understanding of the world around you. Way to elevate your consciousness, bro. Though the blade is sharp, it's not used for mincing. It cuts through malarkey and gets to the point. It offers clear thinking, honest communication, creative vision, and aha moments aplenty. Consider this card the cosmic LASIK procedure that'll remedy years of cloudy sight. Focus ensues. Epiphanies abound. Bring in the orchestra. And then the affirmation is, I see everything. I know more than ever. I still don't understand cloud computing.
Okay, well, all of our friends who are listening, that is the energy that we are leaving you to embody today. Okay, that Ace of Swords, you embody that energy today. Danielle, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much. This has been a pleasure, and I look forward to collaborating with you in the future.
Right back at you, Danielle. Thanks.
Take care. Bye.